All right, for our first exercise, we're going to be drawing a bird that I drew with crayons. And first thing you do is want to open a new document and make sure you're labeling things correctly and organizing your files. And you want to call it Bluebird Exercise. The first thing you want to do is start with a file place. We're going to actually place the image that I will give you. And we want to lock this down. So we're on layer 1, so if we lock this layer, we cannot access it. We can't draw on this layer, that's why there's a cross through the pen. So now we need to actually make a new layer. And now on this layer we'll be fine. All of our marks here, our strokes and stuff, will be in black with no fill. You can change that right down there. But the inside of it, if I show you, the little line here is red, which might be fine to see, but if you don't, you can double click and you can actually choose another color that might stand out a little bit better. But I actually think that that would probably be fine. We'll change to purple just to show you. Okay. And if you don't like black, a black line, you can always bring the stroke to the front and then choose something that you'll be able to see. So let's choose an orange. Alright, so I can delete this. I'm actually going to end up making 4 layers. The first layer is going to be this light blue, the body layer. And we're going to draw that, and then we're going to make a new layer and draw this outside dark layer. Okay? And then we're going to draw another layer and draw the eyes and the beaks and the legs. Alright, so let's get started. First, let's zoom in. We really want to be as close as possible. And it's okay that this is bitmapped, because we don't care about the drawing, and it's DPI. I mean, I want to be able to see, but this is good enough because we're going to draw over it. If ever I want to move something, I just hold down the space bar and I can adjust my what I'm seeing. So I keep my left hand on the space bar and my right hand on my mouse. So again, I want the dark blue layer to overlay on top of the light blue layer. I don't want any white to show. So I'm actually going to click inside and kind of go in the middle of this, and I'm clicking and dragging. I'm not releasing my mouse. I'm click, drag, then release. Now, it might not be perfect, and obviously there were 2 different lines here, so I'm just making the best assessment. So say I really mess up and I do something like this. Well, I could continue going, or I make sure I hit the white arrow and then back to the pen tool and hold down the command key and I get the white arrow. If I go black arrow, and then to pen tool, if I hold down the command key, I get the selection tool, which selects the entire piece, which that is not what I want. That's why I always try to remind myself to select the white arrow before selecting the pen tool. Now I again have this white. If you notice, I just selected off and then back on, and all of my points are white. Now I want to select this point. This point turns purple. The rest are still white. The white arrow is your direct select tool. It allows you to select specific points within your whatever you're drawing. So I'm actually going to drag this down so that it's more of what we wanted. And you see how it's kind of doing this weird curve? I can actually move this like this. It doesn't really change here. Now, to pick up from where I was going, I can't just start. If you notice, there's an X around to the right hand bottom corner of my pen tool. Now watch how the X changes from an X, because I would start a new path, to a slash, which means connecting. So I'm going to click there, and then I'm going to continue to go. Now obviously the blue doesn't need to go all the way up here. This will really be the dark blue. So I'm going to let it come to here, and now I'm going to come around. Now I will go back and adjust this, and I by accident undid, but Anyway, we'll just make that again. So again, pen tool, if I hit anywhere where I wanted it to go, it's an X, so it's not connecting. So I want to click it and drag. Now here, I actually, you know that you can't see through a wing. Now when I drew this, I wasn't trying to be perfect. Okay, here we go. So we have this point, and we are, when I look, it has a convert anchor point tool, which is under here. You have the regular pen tool to add an anchor point, to delete an anchor point, and to convert an anchor point. And I'll show you what these all do. But you can actually access these. You don't always have to go to the menu. You can just access them through your keyboard. If I want the direct select tool to select a certain anchor point, I can just hold down the command key or the Apple key. If I want the convert anchor point tool, I select the option or the alt key. Now what that does is, say I mess up somewhere and I have something that's a sharp line here. Well, I don't want a sharp line, or I only have one toggle. Let's see how many. I have two toggles here. I have one toggle here, which I don't want. I want another toggle on this side. So if I hold down the option key, the alt key, I can click and drag, and it allows it to be perfect. Now look what the convert anchor point tool does here. It should take this, I'm just going to click, I'm not going to drag, I'm just going to click it once, and it makes a perfect both straight lines. So of course we want to undo that, Command Z or Control Z if you're on a PC. Okay, so I'm going to actually go back, and if you notice, it gives me, if I'm hovering over a already positioned anchor point and I click on it, it gives me a negative. I want to get rid of these. And if I hover over the middle part, it gives me a plus. This is helpful if you are learning. You can adjust things a little bit easier. So again, we want to continue. It's ready to continue because it looks like a little convert anchor point in the bottom right hand corner. So I know that I'm ready to go. So this is pretty straight. I don't really need to curve. But again, you're not going to see through the wing to the body. So I'm going to, because I'm just drawing the outline, I want to, whatever's going to be light blue. So I'm actually going to come this way. And I'm not cutting inside, I'm just cutting the outside edge. Oop, and look at how weird that is. You think, oh no, I have to undo, but no you don't. I'll show you how to fix it. We're going to keep going, and we'll come back and fix it. Some people like to come back at the end. You could just make some pretty quick adjustments. Now one thing that's incredibly important is that you want to close your path. And if you notice, around the bottom right hand corner, when I get to the first anchor point that I drew, a circle comes up, and that circle means I am closing my anchor point, closing my path, and I want a closed path. Now if I didn't have a closed path and I did a fill, it fills the shape, but it is not a closed path, and that is not good. So I always work in stroke mode, but I'm always going to get rid of my strokes. I'm drawing shapes. I'm not drawing strokes. So I'm going to close that path. Now I can go back and I see, you know what, I'm okay here, but I'm a little close to the edge. So I'm going to go here, and actually you can click here and actually drag in this way. You do not have to just click at toggles. But say, you know what, I think I need an extra point here. Automatically, it's going to give me a plus sign. You can't really see it because of the colors. But I'm going to get a plus sign. I'm going to pull it out. I'm definitely in the blue. I can actually pull down a little bit here now. And everything looks pretty good. Looking. Now here's where it gets yucky. I don't like it. So I'm going to look at this toggle. And I'm going to look at this toggle. If I start moving this toggle too much, it takes away from here. So what I might want to do is add a point. Add a point, and then hold the command key down and move the point. Again, I'm still a little funky right here, so I'm going to move that. I might need to add a point. Oops, and that's, I wasn't on the line, so it didn't do it correct. And if that happens to you, just undo and keep going. So I'm a little close here. So I think I'm going to add a point. Now, what I just did, it gives me an X. I'm really close, but I'm not on it. It gives me an X instead of a plus sign below. I've got a plus sign. I'm clicking my option, or not option, I'm clicking my command key. I have my thumb over there on the keyboard all the time. Now I have a really big problem, but this point looks okay, even if I change it a little, but I probably need another point here. Now if I decide later I can delete that point, I can just click it again. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to hold the command key down again. It's a little tight here, unless I can get it like this, but when you make a line, like when you pull a toggle this way, the other, it has an ebb and flow. If it goes, it's going to come back. Well, let's see if we can fix this up here and see if we can't. So this would be a good place to use the convert anchor point tool. So I'm going to hold the option key down. Again, these are all just hidden down here. So you could hold the shift plus the C key, but it's just as easy to hold the option key. Click this, and sometimes if you're not exactly on it, this will come up. So that I wasn't exactly on it. So now that really helped. So if I also want to click and drag, if you click and drag, sometimes you're dragging the wrong way. You must be careful. I'm going to show you that again. Click and drag. If you notice, I was dragging, now I made a weird S, and I don't want that. I want to click and drag. No release yet. I'm still holding the mouse down, and now I've got a nice piece together. I'm just going in and revising, so I'm right in the middle of that blue because I don't want anything to happen. I don't want any of my light blue to bleed out of my dark blue. All right, now we're going to save this. We're going to lock it, and we're going to hide it so no, we don't worry about it anymore. We actually could go ahead and change it to be a solid color by simply doing it like this. All right, so now we're going to lock it and we're going to hide it. Now I'm going to make a new layer. This is our, and you can always, call this the dark blue layer if you want. The green should be fine. We're going to hit OK. And now we are going to go around the outside of this, obviously adjusting some here using our brain. We're going to go all the way on the outside, the whole outside. I'm not coming in at all. This is part of the inside. I'm outside and I come here. You got to think about cutting it out with paper. Where would you cut? I'm not going to go through, but I'm still going to make a complete shape. I'm going to come back on the inside and come all the way around this and then end at the beginning. So that'll be the next movie.